What do you think about the fights going down over the weekend, Cody?
Oh yeah, there were a couple of fights. Obviously, there's a couple of fights. A pretty average, bang average fight card that we've already kind of talked about a little bit. But going over the results, obviously, let's talk about the main event first. Let's unpack that one.
Yeah, let's click on the main event then.
So main card, obviously Derek Lewis fought Almeida. It kind of went down.
I think I nearly fell asleep.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing, to be honest.
Like the time that Derek's been on his feet, he looked all right.
Okay.
And Almeida even didn't look too bad on the feet either. But you could just tell the whole time he was waiting to shoot a takedown.
Yeah, you could tell. Derek just looked like a bit of a fish out of water when it came to the wrestling, which he has done before. There was a few times that he managed to stuff the takedown, but it just ended. It was like an inevitability that he was going to take him down eventually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a shame, you know.
It was like over 21 minutes of ground control time, which is it's incredible, really. Like you wouldn't expect someone like Derek has got to the position where he has without kind of, you know,
learning any sort of
just a little bit of jiu-jitsu wrestling, you know, those kind of. But I mean, to his credit, he has fought for the championship before, and
he has.
It's well known that he does lack these skills.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, honestly, you're right. Like, how the hell has he gotten to where he's gotten? And he was like just about to get on another title run, basically. If he won this fight, maybe one more fight after this, he would have been fighting for a belt.
Yeah.
And he has gotten there solely on knocking people spark out. He does what Tyson Fury says he's going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely spark out.
No, that's true. But yeah, Almeida just had the tools to get him to the ground. But the thing that surprised me, and the commentary team were talking about it a bit as well, he needed to be reminded constantly to stay active on the ground. In terms of, like, he wasn't hitting him. He wasn't looking for submission attempts. He was just gassed and kind of pretty much pinning him down to the ground.
He was just kind of abusing the skills that Derek didn't have. And it was a bit disappointing. I really wanted to see him go for the finish, whether that be by submission or TK on the ground, or even, you know, try and strike with Lewis, which might have obviously avoided that because of the one reason.
Well, yeah.
But
yeah, that's the one thing you don't want to do with Derek Lewis.
Yeah, it really is.
He didn't seem to capitalize on the side of the fight that he dominated, I'm not going to sit there and criticize him for not finishing a fight against one of the top guys at heavyweight and one of the most dangerous guys that we've ever seen at heavyweight.
But like, saying that, Derek didn't have anything against him on the ground. You would have thought, like, some of the transitions by Almeida were beautiful. Like, you were like looking at it, and I really thought this guy is brilliant at jiu-jitsu. It felt like he could have found the finish, and he just was kind of happy enough to just coast. Like you mentioned, maybe he was gassed. But when you can just step into mount and you can step out of mount and then get back into mount, and so easily, you should be able to find some form of submission, or at least attempt a couple of submissions. Yeah, it's disappointing all round, really. Almeida's performance. He's not going to buy himself any fans with that performance.
I don't think so. No. I mean, you go in there and you have a decent fight with Derek Lewis. Like after the third round, I was still invested at that point. Do you know what I mean? Going into the fourth and fifth was where it's like, oh, okay, he's just going to do the same thing. Like,
yep.
I thought, once he tied him out on the ground, he might try something a little bit different. But no, he just kept taking him to the ground and sitting on him.
Yeah.
And as someone who like
tactic.
Well, yeah, it wasn't interesting to watch, was it?
It wasn't. Lewis, he had some moments where you were kind of like, oh, could he rally something here? Like, he'd stuff a takedown, or he'd manage to stay on his feet for a couple minutes.
Yeah, every time he managed to stay on his feet for a couple of minutes, you were like, oh, maybe, and then you just remember that he's going straight back to the ground again.
And it would happen every single time.
Yeah.
There was a couple of winging, kind of like uppercuts, a few haymakers here and there that you thought, maybe we're going to have another Volkov moment. But it didn't even look like it was going to happen.
No.
He just looked like a fish out of water. And similar to what happened with DC.
Yeah. After he spent the first 2.5 rounds on the ground, you could just see it in his face.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't like to be pinned down and sat on for the best part of a
By a black
5-round
belt.
fight. Yeah, by a black belt.
Huge black belt.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
What could
not
we
so
say?
huge in comparison to Derek
that's what I
Lewis.
was gonna say. That guy,
30-pound weight difference.
He's huge, man. He is ripped. Like, how much did he weigh? Like, was it 230?
Must have been somewhere around there, yeah.
That is insane for a heavyweight to weigh 230, which is, it's a pretty light heavyweight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think he did come from light heavyweight, but it's a pretty on the light side of heavyweight.
Very much so.
But he can control one of the biggest heavyweights like that. That is very impressive for a lighter guy. Yeah, he's slick. He could do damage in that top 5 for sure.
I think that's where he belongs. Like in terms of the fights to pick for him next. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him. Yeah, maybe get one more test and then. I mean, I would normally say fight for the belt, but who knows what's happening with the heavyweight belt at the moment?
Who has any idea?
But who do you want to see Almeida up against next?
I'd like to see him fight Blades, who he was supposed to fight before he got injured. I think with everyone else out, well, already booked. There's maybe like Cyril Gahn. He's there. But Blades just seems to be a good test. Blades is a wrestler. He will be able to stuff a takedown. He will have a decent ability against him on the ground if it does hit the ground. It's a proper test. Derek Lewis obviously is a scary opponent, but his range of skills don't pose.
They're limited. Yeah,
someone like that. Yeah,
exactly.
So Blades, I think. What do you have any other ideas?
Well, it's funny you kind of brushed over Cyril Gahn because I think that fight there would be very interesting. You've got one guy who's been blitzing everyone with, like, before this fight went 5 rounds against Lewis, he was kind of just going in there and taking guys out in the first, second round, dragging them to the ground and choking them out however he pleased. So it'd be nice to see him go in there against someone like Cyril, who has the whole striking side of things so technically down. And we have seen some stuff on the ground from Cyril as well. It's definitely not going to be to the standard that Almeida's ground game is, but it would be interesting.
It would be an interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah, I think Cyril's lateral movement, like back and forth, is a really big tool of his, and that's something that you don't see Derek have.
No, he's much more stationary.
Yeah, he's a stationary guy. So yeah, I think that fight would really interest me.
That's an interesting one. The only thing that I worry about if that fight was to happen is, like, you look at what Francis was able to do on the ground to Cyril Gahn. Francis, someone who isn't a traditional wrestler or doesn't have a jiu-jitsu background, albeit he's an amazing fighter, don't get me wrong, and a huge, strong guy. If a jiu-jitsu specialist got a hold of Cyril Gahn, I think that would happen as well. And you look at what John Jones did to Cyril Gahn as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He submitted him so easily. It's almost as if Almeida could probably just go in there, avoid a couple punches. And it's not like Cyril Gahn is one to knock you out right there, right then, like a Derek Lewis or an Ngannou or a...
he's got some power.
He does. But it's more of a volume to a finish, if you know what I mean, usually. So I worry for Gahn in that fight that he would maybe get a few punches off, but before he could really settle in, he'd be taken down and submitted. But we need those questions answered, right? So that's why it would be a great fight. It would be a great fight. I think either Blades or Gahn. Gotta be. Both in the top 5. We check out the heavyweight rankings, see what's up there.
That's a good idea.
Pull the screen onto the screen. So, how's your day been, Jackson?
Long.
Yeah.
So you know what?
Same, yeah.
We had one of these last week. How's the weather been today? It's a very similar day. That people are going to get bored with these weather reports because it's just always overcast and
we live in a society.
The land of the long white cloud.
That is literally our nickname. Those who didn't know.
Not us in particular, just our country.
Could be. So yeah, well, let's take a wee look at the landscape of the land of the long white the heavyweight division. So John Jones, obviously champ.
Obviously.
Yeah. He won the championship.
Very
so he
obviously.
is the champ.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Obviously, Pavlovich and Aspinall are both booked up together, coming up next weekend, actually. So that they're obviously out of the picture unless he wants to wait around, but I don't really consider those two a viable option for him. Miocic, obviously he's supposed to be fighting Jones. Blades. Blades and Garn, they're the two in the top 5 that haven't been matched up.
Yeah.
Volkov's been doing well. Volkov's been doing really well recently.
Maybe a Volkov versus Garn, Curtis Blades versus Almeida.
Yeah. Because Volkov's already a little bit higher up. So yeah, Volkov versus Garn, that would be a fight. I don't think they've fought. I'm pretty sure they haven't fought. You remember that at all?
No.
Yeah, that there's a lot of fun fights to make. It is a bit log jammed at the top, but a lot of fun fights to make. Obviously got Tuivasa, but Almeida already beat him, didn't he?
It's very log jammed at the top.
It is.
I suppose that's what you get when you haven't had an active champion in such a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Since Stipe, really. So yeah, interesting. Derek Lewis. I'd like to see him have a fun fight next. Instead of one of these young, hungry, up and coming monsters, but I'm up against a striker. Run it back with Tuivasa. I don't think anyone would be upset with that.
No one would be upset with that.
Derek Lewis versus Ty would be a really good fight.
That fight the first time round was beautiful.
It
was one of those things you get exactly what you want to see in a heavyweight fight. There's two guys that are going in there, and there is absolutely no chance it goes to the ground. They're both just slugging, and that's exactly what it turned out to be as well.
It was. The knockout was beautiful too.
The knockout was phenomenal.
It was a sad fight. I didn't want either of those guys to lose. I think we discussed that when it happened. It was one of those ones that's they both go in there and you're like, there's no one I want to lose, but I want to see them fight.
Everyone kind of thought it was a bit of a passing of the torch at the time as well, with Tai Tuivasa kind of being a little bit younger than Derek and had been on a hell of a tear at that point, knocking a hell of a lot of people out. But since then, it's really tapered off for him as well.
It has, unfortunately. He's not looked the same.
Since that loss to Cyril Gane, he's had another loss to Pavlovich.
Yeah, Pavlovich.
Which was ugly.
It was.
Yeah.
No, it's a shame. Shame about Ty, but he'll be back, I'm sure.
He will. Oh, no doubt.
He's a killer. Well, I guess we'll move on to the co-main. That was also a very interesting fight. What were your thoughts on the co-main?
Yeah, Nicholas Dalby looked like he looked really good.
He did. He looked excellent.
He did exactly what he needed to do in order to get the job done. Like Bonfim, there was a lot of hype around him coming into that fight, especially being unbeaten. But I think before the fight, I heard Dalby in one of the interviews saying, "Oh, he's never fought someone with the experience I have and the people that I've fought." And like, it's kind of one of those things at the time you hear it, you're like, yeah, righto, mate. But that's exactly how it looked when they went in there.
It did, yeah. It looked like Bonfim was kind of overconfident. He went in there to absolutely demolish him.
Yeah.
And looked good.
He did look good for the first round and a half, maybe.
But he looked wild, and he looked like he absolutely burned himself out, which you see so many times with these young guys.
Yeah. Well, once they get on a little bit of a momentum streak and they've beaten a few people in a row, in quick like early in the rounds, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get that idea in your head that you're just going to go in there and do that to everyone.
It's
and in
like
reality,
your ego takes over a bit.
Yeah, most definitely. What are you laughing at?
I don't know. I actually don't know what I'm laughing at. I was
just having a giggle.
Yeah, I've just got when actors are trying to do a scene and then they just start laughing out of the blue for no reason, and then they do the take and they keep laughing. You know what I mean?
I'm very familiar with how movies are made.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like that. Like you just start laughing for no reason, and then you're like, stop laughing. You just can't stop. But anyway,
thanks, Cody.
That's my issue. Maybe I'll get over it. But yeah, Dalby looked epic. He looked really good. He weathered the storm, came out, didn't look in any massive danger, although Bonfim was very aggressive. He didn't look like he was in much danger of being finished or anything like that. So quite impressive.
Yeah. Well, it was the last minute as well in that second round, and then Bonfim, you could see him like looking up to the clock. I think when there was about 2 minutes to go, and that was when Dalby really turned it on.
That was a bad sign. Yeah.
2 minutes to go, and you're looking at the clock. It's never a good sign.
Yeah, it kind of like signaled the end. It looked like he looked up at the clock and he was like, 2 minutes. What? There's no way I'm. And then he just kind of resigned that he was going to lose, and he barely could even stand up after the fight.
No.
Yeah, for real crazy prospect, and he's wasn't the best look for him.
But like you say, it happens to a lot of these young guys, and I think the thing that also happens a lot is these guys do pick themselves up, they rush themselves off, and they look at the tape and they go, "Yeah, I did gas myself out. I did go way too hard in that first round. I did go in there and fight from an ego point of view rather than, fighting with a game plan." So it'll be interesting to see if he comes out next time looking a bit more polished. And kind of keeps those, keeps those weapons at bay for a little bit longer rather than just going in there and showing his opponent exactly what he's got to offer.
Yeah. No, 100%. I completely agree.
You're about to have another giggle again.
No, I absolutely agree. Usually these fighters, they take the loss and then they come back the next fight and they're kind of like a different fighter in a way. Usually they take quite a bit of time off as well. It'll be interesting to see if we see Bonfim take a year or whatever off to sharpen his skills. Because he looks like he's got it. He's got everything that he needs to be really good. It's just that it was that main one thing. Absolutely blew himself out of the water and gassed. So, but yeah, nothing away from Dalby. What else happened? The third fight, that heavyweight fight, Pereira and Mize was.
It started strong.
Yeah, but they really.
And then they just really fell asleep.
Especially Mize, he just didn't look like he wanted to be there.
No. For the majority of the fight, he had some good moments. But yeah, as the fight went on, they were just few and far between. But yeah, that first round, it looked like this fight isn't gonna last very long, and then that feeling just slowly weared away.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, they both just looked like they got really tired really quickly, and yeah, again, not a good look when you're the third highest fight on a card. You want to be performing and being able to last the whole time. It's a bit unfortunate, that one actually. It was. Yeah, it looked good at the start, but then as soon as it got into the second round, it was just kind of died off.
Yeah, 100%. There was well, that's like we say, the second fight that's happened in. And it goes back, like there was four ranked people on this whole card.
Yeah.
So the experience factor there is really lacking. So I mean, you can probably expect that kind of thing a little bit more from these guys in terms of not having that experience and cutting down the weight and then getting your gas tank back to a full capability.
No, absolutely.
But at the same time, if you're building a fight card, you want to make sure that these kind of, performances aren't one after the other. Yeah.
Because this was kind of like a prospect card, right? They wanted to build a couple prospects, but maybe it's not the best idea for the UFC to do a full prospect card. They need a couple of top experienced stars in there in the mix to keep it running. So that we can have some real top quality performances. But they're not saying there wasn't some top quality performances, but having like two veterans on there that go the whole time and it's a complete banger.
Yeah.
Instead of just having someone who fights his heart out for one round and gasses because of inexperience, having that littered through a whole card it's not a good look.
No.
Hey guys, thank you very much for watching this short episode of Combat Corner.
If you like what you see, we've got lots of long form content below and lots of other videos like this, so feel free to go along and check it out. We really appreciate all your support. Thanks again for watching.
Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, comment, share it around. Have a good day.
Peace.